Hello everybody, welcome to my channel on Raw Relationships, and today I want to talk about anger. You are going to get angry in relationships, just the way it is. They're going to do things that drive you nuts, and you're going to get cross with them, and they're going to say things or not do things, and it's going to drive you nuts, and you're going to get angry. Getting angry isn't the problem in many ways, as long as of course it's not rage and it's violent. However, most people get angry and it passes. It's when it doesn't pass that you're going to really have to look at this, because this will then ultimately destroy your relationship, because you'll be angry and you'll be grudge and resentment and those types of emotions and feelings. Unless you resolve them and let them go, it's very hard to be in the relationship. There's nothing wrong with being angry, because we will get angry. It's just the way we deal with it. The first thing is you have to acknowledge that you're angry with them. Now, maybe they hurt your feelings and you're angry with it, or they didn't remember your birthday present, or they were just downright mean, or didn't listen to you. Doesn't really matter where it came from in a sense. The most important thing is you go, I'm really angry with them, I'm really cross with them. And there's a variety of ways that you can deal with this, particularly if you want to save the relationship. Sometimes there are things that can't be saved in relationships and people part, but I'm talking about when these things are savable, you can save them. The first thing is acknowledge. The second thing, you have to decide whether you want to verbalise it or not. Now, in some situations, it's worth saying, look, I'm sorry, I'm just too angry with you, I can't talk to you, I just need to be on my own, I'll get over it, but give me some space, I'm really mad with you. Or, if you don't feel you can do that, you can be angry and then work on it yourself at letting it go. There's two ways you do that. I think it all depends on your relationship and who the person is. For example, if you're really angry with your mum or dad, sometimes it's not worth saying it. You're better off just getting over it, because it can make more fighting. You're the only one who can decide that. So you have to decide, is me telling them going to resolve it or make it worse, or should I just get over it? Some people can't change. They're just going to be like that, and they're going to really annoy you. So you just have to go, well, mum's always going to be really annoying, but I want to be with her, so I just have to do some work on myself. And that's when you need to let it go. And you can do this in various ways. You can write it out. You can talk to your friends to get it out of your system. You can talk in the car. You can, I'd use emotional freedom tapping. I like that. You can do that. You can do a little quiet sit down, meditate, and let it go. It's all about, you have to let it go, and you sort of have to forgive them to stay in the relationship. That's what I'm trying to say to you. If you want to maintain a relationship, you have to let it go. Sometimes we can be angry and just still go on FaceTime and still talk to them on the phone and just put the anger aside. If I'm angry with somebody, but I know bringing it all up isn't going to help because that's just how they are, I tend to, before I have the contact, I put it to the side, and instead of speaking through my liver, I just speak through my heart. I'm still actually angry with them, but I don't let it wreck the relationship, because I want to keep that relationship. And this is very important if you are in a partnership and or these are your family and friends and you actually want to maintain it. People are always going to do things that upset you, and you're always going to do things that upset them. And in that case, I think if you've made them angry, it's up to you to fix it, if it's fixable, and also apologise if you're in the wrong. Sometimes there's only one person in the wrong, though we say there's two sides, but I don't always believe that. I think in some situations there'll be one person who's wrong, who did it wrong and messed up, and sometimes it's both of you, and you can compromise. The other reason it's good to let it go is if you don't let the anger go, it will turn into resentment. And I remember reading once that resentment is smouldering anger, which I thought was a really good description, because it sure feels like that. And that's going to wreck your relationship anyhow, because you'll never be as close to them while you're still so angry with them. Some people go to counselling, so they've got someone else to talk to about it and look at some other strategy. You might want to do that. And some of us have got really great friends that we can talk to, and they can give us good advice because they know us well, and they often will know the other person. There's also an acceptance as well. If you know that the person you're living with is really messy and they're always going to be messy, you might, instead of getting angry with them anymore, you might just decide that you're just going to do the cleaning up. You're just going to clean up. That's the one thing you're going to do, so you don't have the fights. You've got to work out what's worth fighting for. And if the other person's unreliable and they're never punctual and they're always late because it's part of their actual DNA, you just tell them 4:30 when it's actually the other time, so they come there 4:30, which will be just the time for you, because that's probably, the time you're going to be there, which is their time and your time will be different. And that way you can actually, and that's where you can have an actual relationship with them that isn't going to be complicated by that. Or you just give them the 15-minute late. They're always going to be 15 minutes late. I've got some people I know who are late, so I never go to the place on time. I always go shopping and do something else and bring a friend around the corner, and then when they get to the place, they'll usually send me a text going, "Oh, where are you?" And I'm like, "Okay, they're there," and then I'll go and do it. It saves me the stress of sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for them when they're messing me around. But it's their nature, so I'm used to them being late, so that's how I do it. You can be more tolerant and you can flex around it so you don't end up with an angry situation. Know what is doable and know what isn't, and that's going to stop you being so angry. If you're a person who's very tidy and they're messy, as I said before, you might have to change that. If you want them to mow the lawn for you and they never get around to do it and it drives you nuts, get the man in the van to come and mow the lawn and pay for it. You can also quell a lot of things if you sit down and really think about what made you angry about them or in your relationship. And some of those things you can actually fix yourself first. Others you'll have to sit together and compromise. It's important to tell people when you're angry too, when you've calmed down. I try not to deal with a conversation when I'm really angry with them. I just say, "I'm really, really angry with you. I just need some time on my own," and go for a walk or something. Because then you calm down, and then when you actually talk about it, it's not going to be so explosive. And you'll also be more able to be clear about what it is that made you angry and whether you can or cannot change that situation. Don't let anger mess up your relationships. If you've been angry with somebody and it broke and you didn't forgive them, and now you're at a place where you realise you should have just forgiven them, reconnect and say, "I'm sorry, I was really angry with you and I couldn't do it, but I've got over myself and I've forgiven you for what you did." Because forgiveness goes hand in hand with anger. Because when you're angry with someone, you sort of have to forgive them on some level to make the relationship back to what it was. If you harbour it, the relationship will actually be changed. And then you'll gather up more and more resentment, and that can actually break your relationship. They say in life there's some things that are forgivable and others that aren't. You have to work out how you feel about that. I think love and forgiveness, especially unconditional love, can fix a lot of things. However, there are certain people who are quite toxic and perhaps aren't people we should keep being in a relationship, but only you can decide that. I found that this was hard, the anger thing, because it'll just come up really fast and you can't help it. And you can be angry for days and weeks and months. It can just be boiling away there because you're angry about something. But at the end of the day, it really is about how you're going to handle it and less about how they're going to handle it, because they're not angry possibly with you. Therefore, it actually becomes your problem in a sense, and I think you should fix it and solve it. And basically, you have to let it go in the relationship, or let go of that expectation of what you wanted them to do in that thing and change it. This is really important because these things are all often minor things, but they can become major breaks in your relationship. If you let that happen, you could lose a really good, loving relationship with lots of wonderful things in it because you haven't dealt with your anger and let it go, or just resigned yourself to the fact that you have to do the dishes because they never do the dishes. So you do them and then they can do something else. It's very, very important to really think this one through, because anger is a very big emotion. It's strong, and you don't usually think straight when you're angry, and you can get in some terrible, terrible fights, which can become very nasty as well, where we all bring in all the other stuff in the fight. I know it's not fair fighting, but this is human fighting. You bring every other thing that you sort of, and they bring their thing, and then you end up with this colossal fight. We are told always to express ourselves, to speak out. And even though that sounds really good, if you did do that all the time, it would be like that movie about Liar Liar or whatever it was. Life would just be a disaster every day. There are times to speak out and times not. You have to decide whether speaking out about your anger or releasing it and making different decisions aren't a better way to save your relationship. And also to be tolerant with people and to be patient with them. They're not going to be in the same place as us often, and therefore we need to make allowances for that and not make our expectations unrealistic in our life. This is my talk on anger. I think it's very important that you don't let it get to resentment and grudges, because that will actually start eating away like a termite into your relationship. So keep your cool, be angry, go away and have a little quiet time, and then let it go. And you can let it go, you really can. So good luck with that one. I'm sending you lots of love.